I remember I was just thinking of Eleanor Boratinsky. You remember? She was our sort of contact person in Davis. And we used to go down there, and I'd give lectures there at the university. And we were talking one time about the difficulties that people have and the tragedies in people's lives and so on. And we'd talked about this for a while, and she said, it's strange, but I don't know, I just never seem to have any problems. She said, oh my God, no problems. And she started listing all the things that I'd gone through that one year. The temple burned to the ground. A whole bunch of people turned against me and were determined that I was doing everything wrong. Thank God for Jyotish, thank God for Seva, who came at that time. But boy, I had a lot of difficulties, but I just never noticed it. When the temple burned down, there was a store up here next to where the clinic is. And I came into the store that day singing, and the woman said, "You're singing?" I said, "Well, I've lost a temple. I haven't lost my voice." And she said, "Oh my God, when my house burned down, 6 months I was crying." Well, why waste 6 months? I remember we went up to Tahoe skiing one time, and I didn't know that I had bald tires. And when we hit the snow line, I tried to brake, and the car just took off and rammed into the side of a Greyhound bus. Car was totaled. Greyhound bus wasn't even scratched. But so we got on the bus to go skiing. And one of the people in the bus said, "Oh, what a pity, you've totaled your car." I said, "Oh, well, I guess I have. I hadn't thought of it as a pity. It was just a fact." But when she said that, I said, "Well, yes, it's true, I've lost it, but a week from now I'd feel fine. Why should I waste a whole week? I feel fine." Attitude was the thing, basically, that helped build Ananda. That when you just, whatever happens, you say, well, look for the good side. Like the time, I've told this story often, and it's well worth repeating, when William the Conqueror landed before the Battle of Hastings, and he fell on his knees in the mud, and this gasp went up over his whole army, seeing this terrible omen. I mean, here you come to a country and the first thing you do is fall. They were very superstitious in those days, but I think people are probably just about that superstitious today. And he got up with a handful of mud in both hands. He said, "I'm so eager to conquer this country, I've grabbed it with both my hands." And everybody cheered, and of course he went on and won. Well, you have to have that kind of expectation. Now, how can you have it? Well, one is, I know a lot of people told me that I would fail. A lot of people said that it's never succeeded. Lots of people have tried, they've never succeeded. Of course they have, but anyway, that's the general dogma. In fact, I remember we went down, I think it was on our 20th anniversary, went down to Encinitas with 200 people from Ananda. And one of the nuns there, Sister Shanti, was saying right in my presence, she's saying, "Oh yes, I know, lots of people have tried communities, they've all failed." Well, 20 years is not failure. 34 years is not failure. It's just, but this is the expectation, and this is even more the expectation in those days. My reaction was that I just couldn't care less. No, that's not true. I didn't care. I couldn't say I couldn't care less, because I did want it to succeed, but I was not attached. This is the important thing, I think, in everything that we do. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, act, but don't desire the fruits of your action. My job was to do what I could. My job was not to succeed. And so if things went wrong, if things looked disastrous, if it looked as if, when we had that forest fire and it destroyed most of our land and almost all of our homes, it didn't look all that bright. We didn't have any insurance on anything, couldn't afford it. A lot of people thought we'd fail. I always had two principles. One, people are more important than things. And two, Where there is adherence to just or right action, to truth, there will be victory. And it was discovered by neighbors that the cause of that fire was a county vehicle. And they were all cheering, we can go in and sue the county and get all our money back and everything. I wrote to the county and I said, no, we're not going to sue. We don't want to take our bad luck out on our neighbors, because of course the county's taxes would have to be raised to help pay for the insurance. We were the biggest losers. We could have asked for $2 million and probably gotten it. Everything we needed to build Ananda. And I wrote and I said, we don't want to earn money. Suing is a dirty way to make a living. We don't want to earn money out of our neighbors. We'll take our bad luck, and if we can't survive, we won't survive. This is a big world. We can always do something. But that doesn't mean I wasn't dedicated. I've been dedicated since the age of 15. It's the most important thing in my life. Yet I was willing to say, okay, let it go. Because the only really important thing is doing God's will. Divine Mother, if you want us to succeed, fine. If you don't, fine. I only want to do what you want. And so in that way, there's this beautiful picture I told you, I think last week even, how Asha was out there the next day with a big smile on her face. It was beautiful. It's in a photograph. Just clearing away all this dirt and all these ashes and burned limbs and everything. Right away we started in building.